In the shadows of history, beneath the thunderous roar of artillery and the haunting whistle of bullets, the trenches of the First World War house tales of unimaginable hardship, courage, and curiously, humanity's finest paradoxes. Today, we journey into these muddy havens of survival and despair to uncover the untold stories of betrayal and brotherhood among soldiers. Our story begins on the Western Front, where men lived day in and day out in narrow trenches lined with sandbags, ankle-deep in mud, and soaking in relentless fear. Here, amidst the stench of impending doom, you might believe the only law was survival. And yet, out of this primal struggle, bonds deeper than friendship emerged. Bonds we often refer to as brotherhoods in arms. Imagine a young soldier, barely out of adolescence, finding himself shoulder to shoulder with a man from a foreign land. They do not share a common tongue, but in the crucible of conflict, acts speak louder than words. It's in the sharing of rations, the lending of a dry sock, or the mutual silence during a bombardment that trust is forged, not merely to survive, but to preserve the flickers of humanity within. However, the trenches were not only theaters of camaraderie. They were also spaces ripe for the whisper of betrayal. The fog of war blurred lines and allegiances. Tales have emerged over time of friendships twisted by the psychological grip of war. Suspicions could take root like weeds, feeding on the paranoia that every shadow could conceal a spy. In such dire conditions, the cost of deception was not just measured in military losses, but in fractured bonds that once seemed indestructible. One haunting example emerges from the Christmas truce of 1914, when opposing sides laid down their arms and rose from the trenches, not to exchange gunfire, but to sing carols and play football. For a brief moment, humanity gleamed through the grim reality of war. But this fleeting peace also sowed seeds of discord. Commanders on both sides viewed these gestures with distrust. They suspected ulterior motives, questioning the loyalty of soldiers who momentarily saw the enemy not as foes, but as fellow men. As the war raged on, these fleeting instances of peace and the painful ruptures of betrayal coexisted, painting a complex picture of the human condition. The trenches, places designed for conflict, unknowingly became crucibles of deeper understanding and personal transformation. Ultimately, the stories of betrayal and brotherhood teach us one profound lesson. Even in the darkest times, where treachery might undermine or loyalties inspire, the narrative always circles back to humanity's resilience. A resilience that allows the roots of trust and kinship to thrive in even the most inhospitable conditions. As we conclude this journey, let us reflect on these stories from the trenches not merely as historical anecdotes, but as reminders of the enduring power of human connection. In a world constantly shaped by allegiances and betrayals, the tales of these soldiers echo with timeless truths, encouraging us to find unity where division seems inevitable.